Hey, today we're going to be showing you how to upgrade your AMD AM4 powered system with a Ryzen 5 5600 processor. This will work for all Ryzen 5 5600
guaranteed
processors and all the 5000 series processors based on the Zen 3 architecture and use socket AM4. But first, we're going to show you how to disassemble that in order to get to the processor itself, so you can remove and upgrade it without bending any pins. And we're rolling.
Okay, you ready?
Yes. Okay, so first we have to get our motherboard out of the system. On some systems you can do it inside the case, but just to play it safe, we're going to take the motherboard out. And in order to do that, we're going to need to unplug the cables from the motherboard and remove any PCI Express cards. I have a GT 1030 in there that I have to remove. And so, firstly, we're going to use a Phillips screwdriver to remove the screws from the motherboard. And then, Weston, you can't be gaming while we're trying to shoot this.
I know. I'm just going to...
You don't even know if the video's still rolling.
Yeah, it is.
Well, every 30 seconds, check.
Okay, everything. I don't know how much.
As you can see, I've got my screwdriver here. We're
Got
gonna
that for Christmas.
Yes. We're going to use a Phillips number 1 bit to start removing all the cards from the system. And we just shift you guys over so I have room. And here we go. I apologize for any background noise in advance.
It's just me.
My brother is not being a very good camera operator.
Hey, I'm not used to recording.
He's what was available.
Yeah, that's the only one.
So we just undid the cover and removed this screw from the graphics card. Now what we're gonna do is look for the little lock on the PCI Express cover. It's right behind it. It's a little clip. I'll show it to you guys. It's right there. So we're gonna remove that first. We're gonna push on that and pull up on the graphics card at the same time. You may have to use what seems like a incorrect amount of force to do this, but you just push on it and wiggle, and now we have our very dusty GT 1030 out of the system. So we're gonna set this to the side. Weston.
What?
You can't be putting stuff over there. That's where I'm going to be putting screws. Okay. Next, we have to unplug all the cables from our motherboard. This includes the solder cables, a front panel, buttons, as well as front panel audio, and the PC speaker if yours has one mounted in the chassis. Mine just hangs.
Yeah, it does just hang.
But we're going to unplug all the connectors from the system. Don't remember to undo the USB 3 and USB 2 if you have them. I don't appear to have those hooked up. We're going to unplug the 24-pin and our 4-pin CPU power.
Here you go. Here's a thing for your screws.
Thank you, Weston. Look at you, thinking ahead on the page. You're learning from me already.
Yeah.
But we're going to adjust our screwdriver to the long setting. So you see like this, so I get some nice reach. If this isn't long enough, you can always just get a longer one, or use an extension or something.
Or use a knife.
I might need a bigger screwdriver. Hold on.
Or probably don't use a knife.
No, absolutely don't use a knife. You should never be sticking knives in computers. Oh, and I gotta get my adapter so I can use my bigger driver. Here we go. this, we're all extended. Gonna remove these screws from this motherboard.
Why is it called a motherboard? Is that babies or something?
No. I just made a very disappointing discovery. This screwdriver is not magnetic. What do I do with that piece? I'm already losing pieces to this. That's
Right here?
No. I need like the bolt looking piece. Are we still rolling?
Yes.
Okay.
Ah, crap.
You can't be dropping Pez on the floor.
I know. They just like to spill.
Okay, I found it.
Pez is not sponsored, by the way.
No, this video is not sponsored by Pez.
Or nobody.
But it's not sponsored by anybody. This is just me doing what I love to do and showing other people how to do it. Okay. Since I've discovered that my big screwdriver is disappointingly not magnetic, let's switch back to the smaller one. Please use magnetic screwdrivers when you're building computers. It is a lifesaver. And if you have like a magnetic parts tray, you can do that as well. But before we go any further, we're going to remove these panel connectors. Yes, the one with all the buttons is going to be a disaster to reconnect. Here's our speaker. This may be in your chassis. It may be soldered directly to the motherboard, but mine's on a header because mine I didn't come with it, and I like to have the speaker for diagnostics. Next, we're going to unplug our SATA connectors. If your system has solid drives in it, which mine does, you have to be careful with these not to rip the headers off or rip the port off the motherboard.
Yeah.
Some of them, like this one, have these metal tabs, and that more difficult to remove. And if you don't realize that this tab is here and you just brute force it, you will rip the port off your motherboard, because I've done that. Next, we're going to do the USB 3. This is another one to be careful with. We're just going to slowly wiggle. Be very gentle with these, because these have some pins, almost like an IDE connector. Patience is
Key.
with the USB 3.0 connector.
Patience is key to building stuff.
Yes, especially computers.
And especially, like
if it's not
anything
coming
in
out,
real
just
life.
slowly work it. Just slowly work it. Don't rip it out all at once.
Or you might have
Just slowly pull it out like this. All the pins are still straight. Next, we're gonna undo the 24 pin connector, which is the main connector for the motherboard power. You also may have additional power connectors besides your 4 pin. If you're working on, for example, a pre-built or a system that has a more powerful CPU that has an 8-pin power connector as opposed to 4. This is another one to be careful, especially if yours came from a system builder like mine does. You often deal with these being cable managed, and it often makes them kind of hard to remove. So there we go. It's out just like that. And we're also going to unplug our fan connectors as well. That's one that often gets overlooked. As you can see, I do need to dust this thing. I'm going to dust it after I put the new thing on, but anyway, we just unplugged our chassis fan. Mine has a Y splitter because this is a really cheap A320 motherboard. It only has one fan header that's controllable. So I had to use a Y splitter to power on my 3-case fans. This one's not plugged in. Thank you, Weston.
Welcome.
This
Do I get paid
4-pin
for this?
one.
Do I get to pay?
Just make sure YouTube video production go faster.
Oh.
That's your payment. As you can see, my 4-pin here is right next to this fan. So it's kind of in a tough spot. But mine is not cable managed. It's just here. I don't know why the system builder did this, but it's just kind of there. So we're going to leave it in place. Just make sure you remember to remove that when you're taking out your motherboard. So next we're going to remove all these little screws. Make sure the standoffs don't... Make sure you're not unscrewing the standoffs from the case. If you're building a new system, your case may not have standoffs built into it. They may be separate. Make sure you install them, because if you don't, you could potentially short out your motherboard. And that would be a very, very bad time, because the standoffs actually make the motherboard stand off from the tray that's in the case. And if you don't remove that, you're going to have a bad time.
Do not try this at home. Make sure you have a parent near you at all costs. Unless there might be a fire or something going wrong.
What?
Gone wrong.
Fire?
Or something like that, you know, like you unscrew accidentally the wrong part, then
there's no. Up. Well, it can't. It can't on fire because there's no power in the system.
Or well, not that. But if you're trying to take apart while you, if you're trying to take apart your computer while it still has power, I would unplug the power.
Yes. Well,
Valerie made that mistake once.
Yes, I did. It was made worse by the fact that I dropped a screw in my power supply because it was fan side up, unlike this one. And it fried it fried everything in the system. That is one of my most embarrassing moments building a PC, because it's such a new mistake.
Yeah.
Like, I was at the point where I should have known that. Oh, I'm just looking for screws, guys. Okay. Did I get all of them or no? I'm gonna go get my flashlight. We still rolling?
Yep.
Okay.
Please excuse him. He'll be right back.
No, I'm not using a mag light. I'm using this cheap LED one.
Yeah.
There's many different brands that sell the same exact thing. And it works pretty well for stuff like this. I would prefer a headlamp, but this is a budget system, and we don't have the budget to get headlamps. As you can see, I've run into a bit of a snafu here. We unscrew the camera. Oh wait, I don't know why I'm trying to tighten it. I need to loosen it. You will see in there, back there is a screw. In fact, I can show you where it is. It's right there, which not only is being blocked by the 8-pin connector. That was my mistake. This motherboard has an 8-pin. It's also blocked by this fan here. So you're gonna, unless you have some wacky screwdrivers that have lots of joint things that let you get in weird spots like this, you're gonna have to remove that case fan. Fortunately, I have this joint. This is what it looks like. It's just flexible. You put your bit in here. This end goes in the screwdriver. Weston, hold my flashlight. Thank you. Don't knock off. Please don't knock over the tripod. Okay. Actually, come on this side. Because you don't need to bring the pens with you, Weston.
I like pens. Hey, where? Right here?
Actually, I'm just gonna do it myself, but I'm gonna try and get that screw out without having to remove this fan. But if you don't have a joint thing, you're gonna have to remove that fan in order to get this screw out.
What's that coming in handy?
Oh yes. The long screwdrivers and this joint thing is really helping me remove this screw that is blocked by a case fan. But it may not actually
Now,
managed to save me here.
Don't tell which switch.
Blessed being a good camera operator.
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Okay.
You gonna dust it outside?
Yeah. But no, my joint thing did not help me. I'm going to have to remove that case fan, which sucks because the screws are self-tapping. So what we're gonna need is a larger Phillips head. This is the size. This is one of the size 2s, and we're gonna remove this top fan. You can see it's right here. Is that still on camera? Yes. Turn on the light. I'm gonna remove this. Put our screws in my little tray. Ideally, you would have a magnetic parts tray that would allow you to keep the screws from moving around, and they even have some that are like dry erase, so you can write on them. So that way, you remember what screws go where. But I don't have that. I should probably get one of those. My toolkit came with one, but it's not magnetic, so it's not of much use. Last screw. You always got to make sure you hold this fan when you're undoing the last screw.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the fan will just fall.
See,
there it is.
I'm not playing Lego Star Wars.
As you can see, I cable managed it, so it's... I'm going to have to do my cable management and unplug my daisy chain connector. But these are daisy chainable Arctic fans. You can see I just installed these. These are the ball bearing variant of the P12 PWM. These are the PST version. That means you can plug this into your motherboard, and this can plug in any downstream fan. You can daisy chain up to 5 of them. They're 1800 RPM. They're high static pressure. Really good fans. I would highly recommend. Anyway, we're going to put all our screws in our tray. Label them if you can.
Come on, Jenga,
You can
fight
see.
me. Fight me like a man.
You see, we're going to have to do some wacky moves to get in there. You may not be able to see this when you're removing the screw, but you've seen me remove all the others and you know where the screw is, so. Did I switch to a larger bit? Yes, I did. That's why it's not working. See?
Here goes Jenga.
Be like me and remember when you change your bits. You're going to have a much easier time. Okay. Man, this motherfucker. I could have just put this screw 2 inches to the left. It will probably help if I unplug this connector here, since the fan's not in the way of it anymore. Wow, that's tight. Is it starting to come out? Yes. Wait, mine's just a 4-pin. This is just an 8-pin, a combo connector. Okay. That makes more sense. Please come out. Please come out.
Please come out. Yes, need help, Mom?
No, this is just a really stupid place for this connector. Does it have clips on both sides? Yeah, I should probably... Yes, it's starting to come out, but it's like stuck. See, this is real world stuff right here. We're not gonna do any editing on this, other than maybe adding an intro and some text for stuff I forgot to say. But other than that, this is all raw footage, and so the benefit to that is for the viewers is you get to see me fight these connectors. Jeez. Wow, that's on there tight. And my case has been on the top too. Daddy? Come help me do this. I can't get this connector unplugged. No, it's not coming off, and I don't want to brute force it. And the motherboard's the last one.
Last one. You taking the motherboard out?
Yeah.
Why?
So make sure we're doing it safe from the very top left.
This one?
Yes, it's got like clip things and you're supposed to lift it out. But like it wants to come out, but I can't get it to come out.
Where's the clip thing? These?
Do you feel
it? On this side?
It's the one that runs up the...
That one?
Yeah, that one. Please don't rip the header off the motherboard.
I can't promise that.
Oh, God.
I don't know why you unplugging everything instead of just...
So, I was removing the motherboard from the case because I didn't want to have to worry about the case and everything being in the way when I'm installing a $150 CPU that has hundreds of tiny pins on the bottom that can easily bend and aren't impossible to straighten back out if I do bend one. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I really don't think you should take the whole motherboard out, dude.
Well,
I think you're taking a bigger risk of ruining other things. You should have just replaced it.
that clip's not going to make it. See? This is why you use magnetic screwdrivers right here. When you drop screws. Okay. Where's that last screw at? I know there's one. It's right there. The reason that I'm taking the motherboard out is so I'm not trying to fight the internals. I'm not having to worry about clearance, not having enough room to do the stuff with the case in place or with the motherboard in place, because then, there we go. See, the motherboard's out. Found the screw. You can see this is the motherboard. This is a micro ATX board installed in the full size ATX case. So, yeah, because this is a budget system, and the builder, the only motherboard that I could afford was micro ATX, but it's fine. I don't need tons of expansion. All I need is a GPU and an NVMe slot and 4 SATA ports. Well, on the SATA ports, I could probably actually use more of those, but I'm going to set our case to the side, and here's the motherboard. But if you want to use this, now you don't just want to do this on your table, because depending on what your table is made out of, it might be electrically conductive. That's not what you want when they're working on electronics. So I'm using a static workstation that's static free. In this case, it's the cardboard box that's something from Amazon shipped in. Okay. So next, this is the last step to removing the old CPU. We're gonna remove these spring-loaded screws. That noise is normal because they're spring-loaded. That one's free. That one's free. These stay with the heatsink. They are captive. Let's see.
Blow it out.
I'm going to do it once I get it back together. What?
You're going to blow out the computer after you get it back together?
Yes.
Wouldn't it be logical to blow it out before you take that processor off?
Oh. Well, I already have the processor off. And as you can see, this is what happens. It sticks to the heatsink sometimes. Now, this is an AM4 CPU, which means it has pins on the bottom, like some older Intel ones do. And that's a problem, because these pins are super easy to bend, because I accidentally bent one on an AMD FX machine that used a similar socket with the same design, and it didn't go well. So you're going to want to find a very safe place for this. I'm using a new cooler, so for now I'm going to find a very safe spot for this processor and heatsink to go, and I will just separate them later. I'll put the old CPU in the box for the new one once I get the new one in. Okay, I got that stored away. Now we can open the box to the new one. You see, this is it. This 5600 does include the Wraith Stealth cooler. But depending on the chip you're buying, you may not have that. And so you want to make sure that the one you buy does include the cooler, like this Wraith Stealth here. But higher end chips with higher TDPs or certain Intel chips may not have this cooler. As you can see, here's our chip, Ryzen 5 5600, just got the sticker. I'll install this later. But gotta get this out of the plastic. Be very careful when you do this. As you can see here, we have our Ryzen 5 5600. Here it is. Pins on the bottom, nothing on the top. And we're going to make sure to install this the right way. So you want to put the information facing up towards the top of the socket, which is right here on this case. So once that's done, make sure you lift the retention arm beforehand. You just lower it down. Make sure that it's flat. And bam, you've installed the CPU. You don't want to know the anxiety I had leading up to that moment. But now let's get out our new cooler. This is a Wraith Stealth. Crap. Does this have pre-applied thermal paste? Yes, it does. Okay. As you can see, I accidentally touched it a little bit. But there's still paste there. It's not completely missing. Once you tighten this down, it will spread out. Don't do what I just did. But now you can learn from my mistakes. So what we're going to do is put the cooler back on. well, we're not going to reinstall the old one, depending on, now if you already have a cooler that's better than the stock one that'll work, you'd want to install that however that cooler installs, but since I'm using the Race Stealth, you want to use only, yeah, well, since I don't have a cooler that's better than stock, we're going to use this Race Stealth. I would not recommend this for overclocking. This cooler does not have the best cooling properties. It's fine for default stock operation. Not much else. Why is this not going in? Alright guys, I have to get in your way here. Okay. I want to tighten in a cross pattern. And once all these screws are tightened, use a reasonable amount of force. Don't overdo it. And bam, the CPU's installed. And you want to double check that these screws are tight. You don't have to over tighten these. Just do it reasonably tight. It's more important to have them even. Now, if you're installing a cooler on a laptop or a GPU that has a bare die, you want to be extremely careful when installing your cooler, because if you don't get it right, you can crack the die because you don't have that metal piece there like I did. Okay, the camera is still rolling. Okay, I probably should have checked that before I installed the CPU because that's something I can only do once. But okay, here's our CPU installed on our motherboard. I'm going to put the sticker to the side. Again, like I just said, don't be an idiot and check that there's thermal compound by touching it. Usually they will have something that peels off that tells you that there's compound, but with the AMD stock cooler, at least in my case, you don't. And this is a brand new chip. So, with that said, let's get to reinstalling. Okay, so first thing you want to do is make sure these cables are out of the way on a system that's already built. But if you're not if you're building from scratch, you're gonna want to install your CPU, memory, and graphics card, and just hook it up to the power supply on a cardboard box. And connect the monitor, just make sure that it shows an image. But since this is an already built system, I'm just gonna install the motherboard, put in a couple of screws, and make sure that the system posts that way, because it's easier in this system that's already built and cable managed. Now the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that your I/O shield is installed. Want to install it, you just kind of push it on. Some motherboards have these built into the thing itself, but mine's the cheaper one, so it doesn't. Again, my system's already built, so this one's already installed. And then we can proceed to reinstall the motherboard. Okay, we are rolling. Scoot thigh cables out the way. And kind of install it going at this angle. Use the I/O shield to help you align. Make sure you pull all the cables out from underneath the motherboard. Okay. Now that all your ports are lined up, we can do what we did to take out the motherboard, but backwards. if you're building a new system, make sure you install the standoffs beforehand, or you're going to have a really bad time, like I've already mentioned. This video footage is going to come in handy later if I screw something up. Okay. There is a screw. Well, I don't remember there being a screw there. I know that there's a standoff there, so I'm not going to install that one. If you forget a screw,
That's alright.
And you're freaking out, oh my god, did I do damage to my system? No. If your system was already working and you installed your standoff accidentally for forgetting a screw or two, not a big deal. Especially if you're not using a giant tower cooler that has lots of weight hanging off your motherboard. If you'd accidentally forget one for whatever reason, no big deal. Just make sure you install those if you install those. Okay. So there's one last screw. Where does this one go? There's not a standoff in there, so I'm missing. So this screw goes somewhere. Ryland Brooks 2022. This screw goes somewhere. Okay. There is a standoff there. It appears, so I'm going to install this screw. Don't put excess tightness on any of these. And if you feel the motherboard bending, that means you probably didn't install a standoff there. But now we can do the painstaking process of plugging in all of these front panel wires. If you're lucky, these are silk screen on the motherboard like mine. But if you're not lucky, you may have to open up your manual. And if you don't have that, because your system's OEM or something, you may have to just go through the absolute torture of guessing, okay, where are those? Where does it go? It's right there. I'm going to aim the camera so I can show you guys this. Okay. I'm zoomed in way too far for it to be 100% clear, but as you can see, it's got things for power, for LED, a power button, and reset. These are all right here. See, we have power switch. We're going to put it where the power button goes, which is right there. As to why these are not standard, I have no clue. They should be, but they aren't. As you can see with the power LEDs, they're separate, one for each, one for positive, one for negative. It says that the positive one goes there. Then there's a one wide spot, a pin empty next to it. That's where you put the negative for your power LED. Now, if anyone who is working on the next PC specification for motherboards, please standardize these, because this is ridiculous. It is so needlessly difficult to do this. I mean, it's 2022, probably going to be 2023 by the time this video goes up, because we're filming on 30th of December 2022. Oh crap. Where does the hard disk LED go? God, I hate this. I hate this so much. You don't understand how much I do. I hate these things. I'm probably going to have to go back and fix these later. I hope not, but I'm probably going to have to. LEDs plugged in, power light, power switch. I don't want to. Okay. This is so hard, especially in a system that's already got cables going everywhere. But in this case, oh my god, I'm sweating so much.
He's sweating.
Okay, now we're gonna replug our 24 pin and our 4 pin. Make sure it's in all the way. Then gonna replug our 8 pin or 4 pin depending on what you have. Just goes in like that. Next is USB 3. Be careful with this one again. They're so stupid easy to screw up. And I'm gonna plug in just the rest of the front panel stuff like front USB 2. Front audio. Let's see, where does USB goes there. Okay, we're gonna make sure that you align the blocked off pin on the connector, or with the missing pin on the motherboard. Another thing, if a wire does not have power going to it, and you verified either by cutting the breaker off or what have you, it's not live. Okay. Remember, now there's a certain way that I hook these up. One goes on top, 2 goes. Plug in these storage connectors now for any SATA drives, be it SSDs or hard drives. Depending, you may or may not be using these in your build, but I do because I'm poor and I cannot afford having all NVMe storage. Not to mention I don't have the expansion for it. And to me, hard drives add a sense of novelty to the computers, to these modern computers that are just kind of don't have any character to them. Okay. Ah, crap! Probably should have. Oh wait, no. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reinstall the graphics card and just quickly go and test that this thing posts with the new CPU. And if it does, we're gold. Let's stop the footage.